Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew But My Dog Did podcast. I am Maureen Scanlon, your hostess. I'm so happy that all of you are here. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and it is summertime, although this will post probably a little bit later. It's quite warm here in Austin. We're trying to stay cool, not only spiritually, mentally, but also mainly physically right now. So as always, and I may be repetitive, but I really don't care, because my truth is build it and they will come. And my next guest and I were just talking how it's just beautiful that the people that need to come, need to speak, need to cross our paths, and listeners for who you need will always show up. And wait till you see her. Of course, we're going to have the video on YouTube. She's so beautiful, and I can just see her, how glowy and shiny she is. My next guest, Michele Blood, is a successful, multi-talented lady. Michele was a rock singer in Australia, and after a near-fatal car accident, she created positive affirmation songs, which not only healed her body, but also took her to worldwide success. These affirmation songs affect the left and right hemispheres of the brain, lyrics, the left hemisphere, and melody and music, the right hemisphere. So the new positive messages go straight to the subconscious mind. Ooh, I love that. I love the neuro information. This is why millions of people worldwide have downloaded her affirmation power songs. These songs cover healing, success, money, joy, confidence, and they uplift the person immediately. In addition to creating magnet to success products and seminars worldwide, her public mystical success events have been held in over 26 countries. Wow. Michele has co-written and created over 80 books, music CDs, audio programs, TV shows, and videos on positive thought, mind transformation, and meditation. Oh my goodness. Welcome, Michele, my wonderful, talented, beautiful guest.
Ditto back to you, Maureen. Thank you so much for having me on your wonderful, positive show.
Oh, I love it so much when I read that stuff of how we're in this place and we can get to this place. And that's what I Never Knew podcast is all about, and really the purpose that I have. So we always start with our knee story here on Inc. And it is that moment when you were on your knees, just thinking, I'm at my lowest and I have nowhere to go but up. What do I do? Something has to change. Tell us about your knee story, Michele.
Well, that was when I was in the hospital after a near fatal truck accident, actually. We were driving from Brisbane to Sydney, which is about a 14-hour drive from one gig to another gig. And I was with the truck. And just as we arrived in Sydney, he fell asleep because we'd come straight from a gig and I was already asleep. And we went into a telephone pole. And as the passenger, all musical instruments and speakers and everything went into me. And, here I was like 95 pounds soaking wet. So a lot of things were broken inside and outside, and it was pretty gnarly. And I was in the hospital for months and months and months, and I couldn't get on my knees because I couldn't move. And I was in, traction for weeks. And if anyone's ever been in traction and you've got broken bones still, it's so bad that you just keep passing out. The pain is so bad. So people were bringing me positive things to listen to. And I was a very strong-willed, positive person. I ran my band. I got us our record label. We worked for 7 years nonstop at one stage. We toured with really big bands internationally when they came to Australia. And did our videos. Everything was going great. It's hard work. You've really got to look after yourself. So I didn't think I needed anything. But at that stage, being in such pain, the last operation I just had was 17 and a half hours. And someone put on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I was on a steel bed. They couldn't even give me a mattress or anything because I was still in traction, or a pillow or anything. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh God, I wish I could get someone to turn it off. And there was no one around. I couldn't move. And my auntie had put it on and I was like, oh, bitch. Because when you're in that vibration, you don't want to hear all this positive stuff.
Right.
And what did Think and Grow Rich, the book, have anything to do? It was the audio version, have anything to do with a young female Australian rock and roll singer who is in a hospital bed? Because it's all about, in the 1920s, male millionaire entrepreneurs in America. I didn't give a bugger about them. There was just one chapter that changed my life, Maureen. And it was when Napoleon Hill was talking about his little infant son was born completely deaf. And so because Napoleon Hill had studied all of these successful people and saw that they visualized and they used affirmation, auto-suggestion, he went into his little son's room every single night for years. You can hear perfectly. You are so loved, etc., every night. And his little boy ended up, by the time he was 4, having 30% of his hearing, which was impossible because he didn't have the equipment.
Oh.
And so something within me just went, OMG, affirmations. I'll do an affirmation. I've always willed myself into creating things in my life, getting the right musicians in my band, everything. I've been doing it unconsciously. So Napoleon said, you have to emotionalize an affirmation for it to work. And remember, Maureen, this book was written over 100 years ago. And this is way before neuroscience had proven about thoughts create things, about how we have these different synapses that go on in the brain, and how we have a short-term memory, and how if we doubt something, it won't go into the subconscious mind. And Napoleon Hill said, you have to emotionalize the affirmation for it to go into the treasury of your subconscious mind. This is stuff that he just knew. And before it was even studied. I mean, I've got lots of scientific studies on my websites to show people that might think, oh, that sounds a bit woo-woo to me. so that they can, say, well, the scientists can't be wrong, from Johns Hopkins and from Berkeley and all these different places that have studied this. So I'm saying I am healed because I wasn't. I know I am and I didn't. I love myself. I am my friend, which I wasn't. So I thought, oh, I've got the perfect affirmation song because none of those things are true, but I want them all to be true. So I kept saying, I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. But it didn't work. I gave up after a week because I couldn't feel any different in my attitude. I was still extremely depressed and in such horrific pain. And about 2 weeks later, after my traction was out, I had an epiphany. Sing them or get affirmation music. So I asked my brother and a few fans and people to go and find me some affirmation music. And they said, there's no such thing. And I said, there's got to be, surely, because you can't get a jingle or a song out of your head. So that's the way I'm going to get the affirmation in my head. So I just got them to give me a little cassette player with a blank tape and record. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. And I sang it for 60 minutes. Wow. And I just kept rewinding it and listening to it over and over again, sometimes just really soft at night. And then I did it the other side. I did the same thing. And to make a long story short, what happened was that the affirmation, the lyrics went into the left side of my brain. The melody went into the right side of my brain. So you have an entire brain download. Yeah. Both sides of the brain. So it goes 300 times faster straight into your subconscious mind without you having to emotionalize it, because I could not emotionalize it. The doctors are telling you, if you ever do walk again, you've got to have this next operation. You believe the doctors, right? So my doubting mind, every time I said I am healed, just said, no, you're not. And it chopped out. It wouldn't go into the subconscious mind. You just listen to a jingle. So that's why my affirmation music, which changed my trajectory of my purpose and the way I sang and entertained and what I did, was my epiphany. That was my big epiphany that changed my life. And that was the beginning of something huge that I never knew would be that big.
Oh, I love all of it. There's so much of that in my mind. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. First of all, I love that you said cassette tape. So for my younger generations, younger than myself and Michelle, cassette tape is something that is, you would look at today as an antique, but it was something you put into a recorder and you push record and you could talk into a little microphone or you could record music off the little microphone on the machine. And that's what we Gen Xers and older, really Gen X was the ones that used it. So I love that you said cassette tape. And I also love that you said there is nothing out there. The first thing that popped in my head was this was meditation music in its infancy. Like you started it like the pioneer of meditation music, because you are so correct. I am one that it's very hard for us to remove limiting beliefs and blockage when people say things. You need to do this. You should do this. And I'm very cognizant of that as a life coach, that I don't tell people you need to do this. You should do this. I just go, well, what do you feel? What do you think would be best? What does that feel like to you? What pops into your head? So it's like, I love that so much. And I have a difficult time even doing meditations where they're just words. I am music, and music moves us. And I think what you've done putting together those affirmations with music and encompassing the right and the left brain, I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's I call it happiness chemical hacking, because when we listen to music, I tell people all the time, if you cannot meditate, which a lot of us cannot, if you have labels such as ADHD or autism or, anxiety, it's hard to sit and shut your mind down. But we can all turn on the radio and just kind of get lost in lyrics. So I think what you did is wonderful. And as you can see, it was so well received. How has this evolved for you to creating more in your life and in
Excuse
your
me.
sure in your career, books, and all your how did it evolve to where it is now?
Well, it's really fascinating to me, because I had no intention of selling this affirmation music, because I'm a rock singer. I've got my band. Just when I'm healed, I'll get back. But when I got out of the hospital, I went to this little studio that I really loved, just a little 16-track studio where I used to do demos and stuff. And I got a couple of people from my band. I said, look, I've written a lot of affirmation music, and this healed my body so well. I want us to record this for us, just for the band, So I started writing and recording songs on every topic you can imagine: success, persistence, climbing that mountain, that you love yourself. I mean, everything you can possibly imagine. And what happened was, we all loved it because it really helped all of us. We all loved it. But then some promoters, television and magazines and stuff, because I was a rock singer, had heard about my miraculous healing and started interviewing me on a lot of different things, programs nationwide. And so promoters found out about that, who promoted best-selling motivational speakers, transformational speakers, which I was not in that world ever.
Oh, touche. You didn't think you were. You just,
no, exactly.
Subconsciously that's where you were. So I love that.
Yeah. So the first promoter who approached me said, we'd like you to come and tour around Australia with Dr. Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Stuart Weil, blah, blah. And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. Are they musicians or what? Who are they? You don't know who they are? And I said, nope. I said, well, they're huge globally. They've sold millions of books. They're transformational, spiritual. And I said, okay. I said, not really. I've got my band and we're going to get back on the road. And they said, well, we'll pay you $5,000 a gig, and you can put your affirmation music on CDs and sell them at the back of the room. We'll just take 20%, but we'll pay you $5,000 for each gig. And you just sing an affirmation song in between each speaker. And I couldn't believe it, because in Australia at that time, the amount of money we were paid went out to commissions, to the road crew, the trucks, the rentals, the lighting. I mean, we were lucky to make $100 each to live on each week, but we didn't have a home for 7 years because we're on the road the entire time. And the venues would give you lousy places to stay at. We used to call them cockroach palaces. You really have to go. You really have to love what you do when you're in a rock and roll band because it's really tough. Anyway, and that's why I always stay 5-star now. I'm like, no, I paid my dues.
That's right. I am not going back there. I have manifested 5
No,
stars.
I'm at the back of the car, the front of the plane, 5-star plus accommodation because it's awesome. Anyway, and everyone deserves to have luxury when you've gone through what the opposite is. Yes. Anyway, and so I did it, and we got the affirmation lyrics up on a huge big screen, and I'll talk a little bit about the affirmations and how they work and get everyone up on their feet and some of them up on the stage, huge stages. And I couldn't believe the first gig that we did in Adelaide, 3,500 people had paid $300 each to come to this full day event. I thought that was insane. I couldn't believe so many people would pay that much money to hear these blokes, Anyway, so I did it that night. We all used to go to a lovely restaurant, all of us, all the speakers and myself each night. And the first night they just started raving. And they said, look, we all teach about affirmations, but doing it with music. I mean, the audience were on fire. You had them all on stage. We absolutely love it. And Deepak said, you should do one for kids. So I ended up like 3 years later doing one called Self-Esteem for Kids for 5 and under. And it's really cute. It's got all little baby animals talking to them about their environment and everything. And then the little baby animal, which of course is me, I can do tons of different voiceover stuff, would start singing along with me. And Deepak actually said my Bengal tiger Indian accent was better than his, and he's Indian.
Ultimate compliment. I love it.
Yeah. So that's how it happened. I just kept selling out of the CDs. The next city, I didn't have any left. I had to get them rushed to the next gig. And so then some promoters who were bringing out a gentleman called Bob Proctor. Have you heard of him?
Oh, yeah. Love Bob Proctor.
Yeah. Well, Bob Proctor to do
The Secret.
Yeah. To do it all around Australia with him as well. And this was like 1990. And he said, no. I don't have pop singers, and I just have me. I teach. I'm doing this. You've paid me to come and do this all over the country, and I'm not having a singer. And they said, well, she's already booked. We've already signed a contract, and we've seen her in action. She's worked with Deepak and all these people, and you'll love it. And we're paying you. We paid her. So she's doing it. And so after the first half, he came backstage, when we were on break, and he just said, I did not want you to be coming on this tour. And I went, G'day, mate. Nice to meet you too, Bob. And then he started laughing and he said, but I'm so glad that they didn't listen to me. He said, this is incredible. He said, you have the audience on fire, and you've only done 2 songs so far, but I remember every lyric. And he said, do you realize what you've done, young lady? And I said, yeah, sort of. And he didn't know about my car accident. He didn't want me talking. He just wanted me singing the songs and having them sing along. After that, though, he had me talking about it. He let me talk. But so he said, I want you to work with me all over the world. I'm doing a huge gig in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm going to pay you this much money, first class travel. And I want you to sing and do all this with me all over the world. I want to create products with you. I want to write songs with you. And then his wife Linda said, we should call it musivation, sort of motivation and transformation with music. So I ended up working with him. I stayed with my band for 6 more months. I gave them 6 months notice, or the wives of the guys would have killed me because some of them had little infant babies. So I gave them enough time to find another gig, Anyway, so I couldn't believe it. It was like just unbelievable. And they were paying $2,500 to come to his gigs. Yeah. And so I ended up living in Kuala Lumpur. I ended up doing all these programs with him, and our new relaunch of the program that Bob and I did called New Paradigms. And when we recorded New Paradigms, I would create a song to go with his talk, and then I would produce the talk and put it into this audio program, which is incredible. So we've just done Well, we did in 21, but I'm only just launching it now because I've been busy. And
Yeah.
then, so it's the e-book version and 8 audios and all the songs. And that took us nearly 3 years to create all of that, Bob and I. But we actually wrote a lot of books together as well that you can see all over the place. And so then all these other places started hiring me to do an entire seminar on my own. And I just loved that all the experience that I'd had handling any sort of drunken audience in Australia. You can do anything. you fear no one after that. So all that experience of being able to entertain and handle it. So my events, like a sort of a rock concert, you get to sing and do all this stuff, and we do visualizations, we do deep meditations. I've got special meditation music that I haven't written because I don't like to meditate with lyrics. I like to have Mozart or some certain music, but that's another story. Because that's another, like, I'm just talking about the second quarter right now. Because after that, everything changed. But I toured nonstop, and I was like making so much money, selling so many products. And then I started recording other songs in the Malaysian language and other languages with their famous rock singers, end up getting #1 hit records in their countries. I was on fire. I couldn't stop. I got Bob's book, You Were Born Rich, which he hadn't sold many copies of yet, to be a bestseller globally, because I knew how to promote and market things, because I knew how to do it for my band. You've got to think outside the box when you're promoting things, and so he loved all that. He just loved it all. So we worked together for a long time. And then there was something within me, Maureen, that was missing. And I was like, I've got the money, I've got the gigs. I love that I can be generous. I fly out my mum and stuff to Malaysia first class, and they're just out of their minds with experiencing that.
Right. I can imagine. I mean, not you going from, being this rock star, not just traveling for
But
7
broke.
years and broke, to suddenly, this blow up of success. And before you tell me about, the thing that was missing, which I'm so happy that you brought that up, I want to go back a little bit to my first question is, does it surprise you that so many people were receptive? And what does that tell you about us as humans needing this kind of rewiring, rethinking, renewal, something out of the norm? And like you say, the woo-woo, since I started my spiritual journey, found out I have the ability to be a medium, and I do readings. You do have that sort of fear of, they think I'm woo-woo, but you can see how it's all just so needed and so well received. Did that surprise you when this started taking off?
No, because I'd seen the reaction in Australia, and Australians are pretty hard-nosed, sort of tall poppy syndrome type of people. And I didn't realize that people were so hungry for something positive in their lives. When they've gone through something, it awakens, it blooms their spirit. And I noticed, no matter what country, I mean, Malaysia's a mainly Muslim country, no matter what religion, language, or whatever culture that I talked to or sang with, they all wanted the same thing. They all want to be loved. They all want to love and return. Everyone wants to be able to give and receive. They want to be happy. They want to have enough money, more than enough money, to be able to live a good life and look after their families. They all want the same thing, no matter what the religion is. And so it's so fast with the music to entertain people. It lifts them up. The world goes around because of music, as far as I'm concerned. Where would we be without music? The ABBA song, thank you for the music.
Yes.
The songs we're singing, what would the world be without the music? And it's true. Everyone loves some sort of music. But when you can have a tool that's so simple that you just listen to it and it changes your vibration and it makes you feel happy instantly, because the mind is malleable. It's so easy to go down, then up, but it's easy to go up if you've got the right tools. So to me, I wasn't surprised at all. And I never really thought, oh, wow, look at this. Just the first gig with Wayne Dyer and everyone, that was the shocker, because I'd never been to a seminar in my life about anything.
Yeah. And I think people are so much more receptive to hearing music as opposed to hearing someone talk. And I think that in for you to showcase your talent, to showcase your story, your overcoming. And I think you're absolutely right. And it's there are no coincidences. I always say we're all saying the same thing, and we want is we want love and kindness and compassion, and to feel accepted and validated and worthy. And when you said that, it doesn't matter the language, it doesn't matter the religion. You're absolutely right. And music is that universal language that I think carries over and opens hearts more than anything else. I what came to my mind was Barry Manilow, I Write the Songs.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Yeah, because I have goosebumps. I used to listen to that song as a kid. Someone that I really have followed and really started me on my spiritual journey was Esther Hicks, or Abraham. And I don't know if you're familiar with her, but when you say vibration, definitely the music helps to raise that vibration. And I think doing those affirmations and seeing it as if it already happened really helps us. But it's so hard when you're in that hospital bed and it is bleak and you've got months and months. And, if someone's in addiction or someone's in abuse, it's a really, really difficult thing to do. But I always say the people with the greatest pain have the greatest growth. And I think when we reach a point of being grateful for what we have been through, we now are able to be the teachers and the healers. And that sounds like that's where you ended up evolving to. And now, I mean, you're this superstar. And do you get good feedback? What are some of the stories people have said to you about how you've helped change them?
Oh, we've got thousands of them on our websites, and written ones from best-selling authors, from doctors, dentists, you name it.
I love it.
People that were suicidal. We've got a lot of them on video as well. And we don't ask for them. They just say, oh, when they're at an event, they just, someone said, hey, put a video and we'll do a testimonial for your website. Someone was like, oh, thanks. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
I think because of what happened to me after that success, because of this spiritual change that I went through, that is when everything went to another level. Totally. I went off the grid, Maureen, for 10 years. No events, no new books, no new products, everything. All these people, Jack Canfield, Mark Victor, all these people that I used to work with were contacting, Bob, why aren't you? And I said, look, I found an enlightened teacher, because I went all over the world looking for an enlightened teacher. I didn't even know what it was, but I knew I had this heart glow and I wanted to find what that was. And because Bob is such a wise man, he said, you're looking for enlightenment. He said, you've got this love of the divine. And he said, I had a teacher that was enlightened. And I always called him my mentor, but he was really an enlightened teacher. And he was sort of off the grid too in Canada, who originally started teaching me before he even started working for Earl Nightingale. So he said, go and look for an enlightened teacher. So I went to India tons of times, Japan, you name it, looking for enlightenment, when someone said, oh, this is a Zen master here. And it was 13 years later that I finally found one who I don't get me wrong, they're so rare. Enlightenment is so rare. So it took me, I did find two, but the different languages, old men, I can't live in their countries anyway, and they didn't really take on female students. And I found an American lady who was 10 years younger than me, who was enlightened. I went into this little place in Balboa Park, San Diego, because I'd moved to America by then. And I saw her hands glowing, and she only had a little stage. She didn't have big lightings or anything. And she sat on a chair, and she was so beautiful and young. And she's talking about her enlightenment. And a really, really good friend of mine, her teacher who was enlightened had left the body. And so he'd been searching for another enlightened teacher, because once you've got an enlightened teacher who can transmit light to you, everything changes, everything. So it's so challenging to meditate on your own if you don't have that transmission from an enlightened teacher. And so I just decided to do everything she asked me to do. I traveled wherever she said to go, and I just meditated all of the time. And after a few years, I had an awakening. And then she retired, and now, I teach it to students in over 26 countries in all walks of life, and I transmit light to them, teach them meditation. But we have so much fun because we still do it as entertainment. We still do the affirmation songs. We have these huge Zoom events since the lockdown, and just everyone is creating and masterminding and writing books, and we just help each other. It's called the Mystical Experience. You go to themysticalexperience.com. You can watch free videos, look at the testimonials, and we've just got members, which are, I guess you can call them students. But the one thing I do with my students is I don't let them think of me as an enlightened teacher, even though they know I am, because they've felt it, they know it. Miracles have happened in their life time after time, because I'm a conduit of the light.
Yep.
It's never off anymore. Once that enlightenment, which is very hard to go through, it took me 3 years before I could even handle looking at anyone. It's just that intention. So everyone's got this beautiful diamond. I know that you know all this, but this is for people who don't know about it. And this is your diamond. And when you can't feel, or you're not attracting what it is that you really want, you're a good person, you're doing your affirmations, you're doing visualization, and you're like, why aren't I attracting? They say the law of attraction and the secret. Well, the Buddha said 2,500 years ago, we are what we think. Everything we are is created with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. So it was not a big secret. And by the way, with The Secret, Rhonda Byrne purchased all of my products and all of Bob Proctor's products years before she started The Secret. And Bob wanted me to be on The Secret as well, but I understood why she didn't want me to be. She said, look, she's Australian, she's short and blonde like me. I don't need the competition.
Wow.
But I didn't mind as long as Bob was on there, because he's an awesome teacher and just brilliant at what he does and believes it. And I've worked with so many huge authors all over the world, but he was the most, he was the one I resonated with because he believed it. He loved God. He loved spirit. He loved assisting people. He loved making money too, but that wasn't his main priority ever. He wanted people to wake up to their possibility of what they could do, which is what we all want for everyone. We don't want anyone to be suffering anytime. And you suffer when all your experiences from the past get stuck on your enlightenment, everyone has enlightenment within them, or you wouldn't be breathing, but you can't feel it. And, they say the veil, the Buddhists, and all these different things. But it's because all of those emotions are stuck and you can't feel your direct intuition, with God, with the divine, your higher self. That is the highest, that is the only one you speak to, is your higher self. And if you can't hear it, well, then the diamond is, you can't feel it. So when you have a light train, anytime you do anything, if you do anything that you find really terrifying, but you do it, you break a barrier, and more of these spots, fear, loathing, whatever it is that you've been through, frustration, pain, they start dissolving, and you start feeling more alive, because when they start dissolving, your frequency, that speed of vibration, that frequency is faster. You're resonating at a higher frequency, and you can feel things and see things that you've never seen before. You start looking at things and everything's bright and sort of watery, and you start, and this is sometimes years before enlightenment, but you start feeling yourself again, and you don't feel negative, and you don't complain anymore. And anytime you do something to stop yourself from complaining, or you do something else to help someone else without wanting anyone else to know, and when you give, tithe, and you're just a loving person and a kind person, and then even if you're not feeling kind or loving, you do it until it becomes who you are. And every time you practice meditation or do something to help your spirit awaken, to help that light be bright, be on, anytime you've had light transmitted to you, that every time light is transmitted to you, which is why it's such a fast but hard path when you have an enlightened teacher, more of it gets dissolved. But the thing is, Maureen, as you know, as that gets dissolved, everything that people have been blocking, all the shit about themselves they don't like, that they hide. I'll have pizza. I'm not going to feel bad about that. So they're like, the girl from Gone with the Wind. I can't think about that now. I'll think about it tomorrow. We'll watch some television. We'll do this. Anything but to look at your shadow. Anything but to look at your fears. And that is no way to wake up, because you don't want to put icing on an unbaked cake. And that's what people try to do. I've just got to be positive. I've just got to be positive. I can't be around those negative people. If you're reactionary, it's because that's within you. It's a mirror. Yeah. So that means you can work on yourself. And when you can be brave enough to say, oh my God, I was such a bitch doing that. Why did I do that? There was a fear. What am I afraid of? If you can start hooking what it is you're afraid of, and then let that blossom, so that not to be in a negative state, but to at least be aware, have that mindfulness, that awareness. That's what I'm afraid of. So I'm going to conquer that fear. I'm going to go and do that thing that I'm scared of. Anyway, I've talked for a long time. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. I mean, I'm completely in, and I know the listeners are too. And everything that you said, I completely agree with. And I picture that diamond being covered with mud, and that mud is everything that we've heard, seen, tasted, and absorbed from our family, or family of origin, our generational stuff, our ancestors, our experiences. And the willingness that you say to have that enlightenment, and at the very least, the self-awareness to say, I just want to get some of that mud off of there. And then, like you said, if you put some water on it, how quickly it washes away when you have that belief in you. And there are very few truly enlightened, as you say. And of course, for me, it's the dogs. And I think animals and children are the purest and closest to God, and the most innately, unconditionally loving things in our human existence. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I live in the countryside. I live very, very, hardly any neighbors, big acreage. I've got animals everywhere, everywhere.
Yay.
I mean, I feed them, so they come. Deer, so many squirrels lately. My cats have got a little catio they can look out on, and it's like cat TV. It's like they're outside, but nothing can get to them. Because when you live in the country, there's like mountain lions and stuff, so you don't let your cats out.
Yes.
But there's just one of the neighbors' dogs is like my dog, One-Eyed Willie. When I go for hikes, he comes with me and sort of protects me when I'm going for long hikes in the countryside. And so I adore it. And I know that dog's enlightened. He is a very, very special dog, the neighbor's dog. And everyone on the mountain that lives up on the mountain, they all love him. They all want to feed him. And the owner keeps having to say, please don't feed him. He won't come home at night because he's not hungry. So, oh no, I totally agree with you. And I just speak telepathically, heart to heart with this dog, Willie, One-Eyed Willie. He's so beautiful. And he went through torture when he was a puppy, and they adopted him. And that's why he only had one eye from torture. So to come through and just be this most loving, and, and all the animals love him. He is like, this enlightened teacher on the mountain. So I totally agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Their ability to forgive, to trust, to put our happiness above their own is just, to me, the whole reason why I wrote the books, and why my whole brand is about the animals, because you just see it. You see and they're so different from humans in the way that they take on other abandoned species, and if this mother of a bird abandoned it, you see, a cat taking on a bird. I mean, it's just, there's no exclusivity, there's no judgment, there's no racism in the animal kingdom. In fact, I just moved from Arizona to Austin, and one of the reasons I moved to this particular house is we have a nature preserve behind us.
Oh, wonderful.
I know. And I just bought, when you said the catio, I had to laugh, because I just bought this little tent for my cat, because he can't go out behind our house now because we have bobcats and and coyotes. So I'm like, okay, no. But I want him to get fresh air, and it's beautiful here. We're in a suburb of Austin. So I let him go out in the morning and feel the air. So you saying that, I was like, I totally get that. And I feed all the birds, and now I know all the different bird types. No, sorry, I'm going off on I digress when I talk about animals, but I love everything that you have to say. And I know that the listeners are going to need a heck of a lot more from you. So I want to know, um so 13 years I think is also a really good way. Going off the grid for 10 years is also a good way to teach our listeners that everything doesn't always come at once. It isn't this, and as humans we're impatient. It isn't this all of a sudden I'm this spiritual person and everything in my life goes perfect. I love that you said, and we're going to go back to when you said something was still missing. Do you know what that piece was that was still missing for you, that had you seek someone and finally find someone for after 13 years?
Yeah, because I had what I called heart glow. I didn't know about chakras. I didn't know chakras had to be activated through meditation, through the kundalini coming up. No one else can activate your chakra except a teacher can transmit light, which helps bring up the kundalini, but it takes years to activate those chakras. But my heart chakra had already been partially activated through what I'd been through. And so I felt this heart glow, and this heart glow was like love. And I felt this, I could hear this high humming, and I went to a doctor and it's like, no, I didn't have tendinitis or anything. And then I started reading a lot of books. I read Autobiography of a Yogi so many times, and I was like, oh, this is what it is. What Bob said, I've got to look for enlightenment, but he's left the body. So I just started studying all the enlightened ones who'd left the body and what they went through, and certain teachings that they had, like Swami Muktananda, A Play of Consciousness, one of my favorite books, and Saint Teresa of Avila, her book Interior Castle. And I was reading all of these books, and I realized what it was. And it was because I needed to find someone who knew God, so that they could teach me how to really know God 100%. And not for one moment was I thinking about me becoming enlightened. I'm a rock singer from Australia. I curse and do all that shit. I'm not, how could I become enlightened, And so I felt tears running down my eyes when I was in front of this teacher, and I could feel the joy, and she was so irreverent and cursed, and I was like, oh, this is my teacher. Because whenever I see someone, I'll give you an example, Maureen. I'm sure you've come across this over the years. There was this lady that wanted me on her TV show quite a few years ago now, and so we had a pre-interview about what we were going to talk about. And she was just like a normal Chinese American lady. And she was just like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And, just normal voice and everything. And thumbs up and shit, yeah. And, and then when I got on her show, she's like, oh, yes. And I am an enlightened teacher from the planet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, bullshit. I just went off the air. Oh, I couldn't be with someone who was so full of shit. It was like I wasn't going to help promote what she was doing, because she's lying to herself and to people. And her normal personality was wonderful and funny. And she's putting on this act, and I'm like, what is she doing? It's like,
I love that story so much because Michele, I tell you, since, I really started my journey and was healing, doing all that. I mean, every day we still have triggers. We still have stuff. We still have stuff stuck to our diamond. But the one thing that I can do now better than I ever did is I can see through the bullshit, and I can see authenticity and genuineness, and you don't even have to open your mouth. Like I feel, and like you said, who she really was so authentic and so relatable. And just because people are in the wellness and spiritual arena, there's not a perfection there. It's just a humanness there. And I think that's kind of the beauty
Who
of it.
wants to be a saint? How boring.
Right. We don't want to be robots. I don't want to be programmed to do exactly what you want me to do. But that's a great story because have you found the same thing that you're able to really? I always tell everybody, I don't see people, I see souls. So there's nothing that you can really hide from me or fake, because now I really can feel you, from a sentient point of view. I get who you are. And do you feel the same way?
I just have to look at a photograph and I bear witness to that enlightenment. I'll give you an example. One of my students had fallen in love with this guy that she'd met, but she hadn't really met him yet. And he sent a photograph of him and she said, "Oh, can you please send him light?" And I looked at it and I said, "You don't know this person. Whoever this person is, that is not the person you're in contact with. This is someone from Nigeria and they are trying to get money from you." And they had tried to get money from her. And eventually they did, even though I told her this is not a real person. It's not someone you even know. I'm not sending light to this photograph of this man who someone's just taken from the internet and used it pretending to be someone else. And that is exactly what happened. Wow. So it's just, I just get a download straight away of, because I connect with the person when I send them light, from here with their photograph, because I transmit light to them that way. I gaze their eyes into their eyes close in the photograph, and then the photograph goes into white. So for years before I started teaching, I experimented for 2 years. I gave everybody free light transmissions to make sure that what I was feeling was happening, because it was the divine through me. How was I to know exactly what was happening? And when I got all the feedback from most amazing, miraculous things that were happening when I was praying, because I love to pray. When people ask me to pray for certain things I'm not allowed to pray for other people, like for someone to be in their life, this particular person or something. No, I don't do any of that. That's all black magic and weird. I don't do anything like that. I just, whatever is for their highest good. But if they are praying to own a house or to have money, and I want people to be rich. I want them to have more than enough money, because then they can stop worrying about money and be more on their spiritual path, which is what happens to all of my students. So if they're going through something, we will assist them to make a website or whatever. Sometimes we do a lot of stuff just for free or give them money, because if I can see that they genuinely want this and they just want to get out of that quagmire, and they you've got to do it on your own, but you can't do it alone. Right. We have all these people in the world for a reason. So it's so wonderful, the givingness of the mystical experience people, because they are from all walks of life. And the way that they're attracted to come to me was not through word of mouth with practically any of them. They just saw a video or something of me for free on YouTube. Somehow they got to a free event I was putting on. And that's how it happens. Sometimes it's word of mouth, but very, very rarely. Spirit is asking for help, sometimes without the person being consciously aware of it. And when spirit within you is asking for help, let me wake up, let me get out of this quagmire. I'm the diamond, I am the infinite. Everything that is required from, it wouldn't matter if something or someone was required and it was the only person who could assist them that's halfway around the world, they will end up in resonance. They will end up contacting each other. It's fascinating. See, I'm not amazed anymore, but I'm fascinated by how the divine works. This world of illusion, this world that isn't real, but is so beautiful when you can see the light, when you can see it just shining down everywhere, through people, on people, and how you can just see. When I look at someone, I just look at I only communicate with their enlightenment, because I can speak directly to their diamond no matter how clogged it is. And I ask that diamond to go before them and prepare the way and bring into that person's life. So then when I pray to their diamond, well, then their diamond is freed up for a little while to be able to do that while I'm praying for them. And so I did it for years to experiment to see if it worked with people. When people started emailing me all over the world, "Oh, I've heard about your prayers and and your light transmissions," and don't know anyone else who, my teacher didn't do it like that with a photograph or anything. It just came to me. I want a photograph of the person, because she always said, don't look at photographs of people that are alive because you can take on their energy. But I never do. I never
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I just see the light in them. All I ask is that they at least smile with the photograph that they send me. So I don't have
we want to see some light.
It's like, make your dentist proud, people. Smile. If you're happy,
I
if you're
wanted
happy,
to write down something that you had said. I was trying to write it as I was listening. Wait, you have to do it. Say that again for me. You got to
you've got to
do it.
do it on your own, but you cannot do it alone.
You've got to do it on your own, but you can't do it. Oh
Alone.
my gosh, I love that so much. That resonated with me.
Well, that's Zen. That's Zen teaching.
Yeah. It resonated with me because
Because you're very Zen.
I am one of these people that I'm not a salesy person. I don't push anything that I do on anyone. I will say, hey, here's the books that I offer. Here's the dog boutique that I would love for your dogs to have something from. And I do it for them. But I do find in business, I don't have as much of the abundance because I'm not salesy, I guess. And I just keep believing, manifesting, envisioning that build it and they will come. And if not, the value that I add to the world is priceless. And so whatever the path is, it'll be meant for me one way or another. But when you said
maybe I could assist you in that.
You're like, Maureen, okay, that's great, but you need some help. But you've got to do it on your own, but you can't do it alone.
You're doing really great work. So you've got to be compensated for that. Otherwise, it's not right. The New Paradigms book and the audio that we're just relaunching by Bob Proctor and myself, even though Bob Proctor's left the body, I didn't think of doing it after he left the body, but we had already done it. We'd already rewritten it, him and I. And so I'm going to launch it now, but I will give it to you tomorrow. It's going to be launched, and just go through it. You will be amazed at the things that you can do, because it's not about ego marketing yourself. It's about, you've got a message that when people listen to it or read it, because people love animals, they love their dogs, that they will get a satori, an aha. So you've got to look at it this way. Your message has to get out there to the world. It's not getting you out there to the world. It's getting that message that your spirit has given you, that your spirit dogs have given you. They're real dogs, but so that's the attitude to have. So when I'm marketing anything I do, I say to people, get it, because it will help you. It will assist you. You're insane if you don't get it.
I agree 1,000,000%. It's always been about the message, and I always I've since the beginning I've always said next stop Oprah's couch, just to have an audience that huge. They need to hear it, and everybody resonates with the dogs, whether you have them, you've seen them, you've seen movies about them, just the purity of them. So in our last few minutes, listeners, we have a special treat for you. She's going to tell you everything, how to get to her website, how to get all of her products, and she has a special gift just for the I Never Knew listeners today, and I'm so grateful for that. So let's tell our listeners everything, where they can find you.
Yeah, and Maureen, I'll get you to come on one of my Zooms, and I'll introduce you to everyone and tell them about your books.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you. I so am appreciative of that.
All right. So Michele Blood, spelled Michele, not double L, Michele Blood. It's my father's name. Don't blame me. Blood. It's Irish. Some people say, was that your rock and roll? And I said, no, the record company had my name changed to McCarthy because I thought I sounded too punk with a name like Michele Blood, even though it's a real name. Anyway, micheleblood.com/I never knew. And you will get, to start with, it's about, I don't know, after a while, you'll see that you'll get my mysticism 6-week video course. You will get so many of my best-selling products, including the Magic of Affirmation Power book. So many of the things that I did with Bob Proctor as well, for free, absolutely free. So at least you can get a taste of it, and don't just because it's free, don't not download the stuff. It will assist you greatly.
Yeah.
Get that stuff for free. Get it for free. Get it for free. It's yours.
It's a gift.
But if you want,
it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift.
Yeah. but if you want to see about events that I'm doing or see about the mystical experience, you can just go to Michele Blood, MicheleBlood, MichelleBlood.com. And there you've got my blogs, you've got the Magnet to Money app. For just a cup of coffee a month, you get hundreds of dollars of my products from this Magnet to Money app. You get daily meditations, the prosperity sleep program. We worked on it for nearly 3 years, developing this amazing app, which we launched just a few months ago. And it's only $4.99 a month to get the also for just, even if you don't buy it, you get for absolutely free the audio book, Become a Magnet to Money Through the Sea of Unlimited Consciousness by Bob Proctor and myself, that we did a few years ago, best-selling audio program, normally $49.95 for free. So,
Oh my gosh, I am completely blown away by all of that. I mean, come on, guys. $4.99. You can't even get like a fast food meal for that. And you're getting this kind of quality on an app, this content, this necessary information message. Oh, I love all of it. I love all of it. So don't forget, MichelleBlood.com/I never knew. You're going to get so much fun and free stuff. Free does not mean the value means less. Free means she makes it more accessible to you because it's important to her to be doing the work and serving her purpose and sharing the light that she came here to give. And I have full body goosebumps right now. So I know we're being blessed right now. So listeners, that's going to wrap it up for today. Michele, I cannot thank you enough. I enjoyed this so much. I learned so much about you. You inspire me to really believe that it is possible. Anything is possible. When you have that message and you have that diamond uncluttered and cleared out and shiny, anything is possible, and love and abundance and passion and purpose all follow when we start getting rid of all the stuff that's stuck to our diamonds. So listeners, please go get all of her things that she so generously is offering for free for my listeners today. So thank you, my love. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Maureen. God bless you greatly. Oh, just a quick PS. Next week, we're launching a video book.
Ooh.
Manifestation Through the Power of Mysticism. It's me speaking and all these amazing, rich and beautiful visuals for that to go into your subconscious mind. It's got an ebook with it as well. And so we spent so much time. Each chapter is a video book. Isn't that awesome? So anyway.
Wow, a video. Yeah, that is amazing. Oh my gosh, you are one busy lady. Like, I'm exhausted just hearing everything that you do. Because my whole you got to do it alone on your own. I didn't do but you can't do it without help. So you are just such a go-getter, such a light in this life and in this human existence. And we're so grateful for you. And like I always say to my guests, thank you for the hour that you gifted me. That is priceless, and that you offered it freely, and you'll never get that back. And that's something I don't take lightly. So thank you, my beautiful friend.
Thank you, Maureen. We'll speak again soon.
Absolutely. So listeners, that's going to wrap us up for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed Michele as much as I did. Let's see, any housekeeping things. Nothing, but we do have some markets in Austin. So if you're around the Austin area, please do not hesitate to look for our markets that we're going to be at, meeting all of the puppies and giving free samples of our healthy treats. So mydogIsEverything.net will get you some of those treats, Paw Bomb, all that fun stuff. And of course, the books available at Amazon. Please go to my website. Everything is there for you. And I love and appreciate all of you. Keep the comments coming, the reviews coming. I'm here for you. Anything that you need, please never hesitate to reach out. Keep growing the community and sharing this with your friends and family who need some positivity in their life and on social media, most of all. So, thank you very much. And until next week, I'm out of here.